Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good evening.
Good.
Let's try that one more time. Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good evening.
All right, that's good. Much better. My name is Tim Simmons, and I am the Assistant Police Chief. I've been with Richmond PD for about 17 years. And before Richmond, I was with the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department for a couple of years. Born and raised in Vallejo, California. I am a Bay Area native. My family lives in the city of Richmond. I'm invested in the city of Richmond. I found my wife in the city of Richmond. She's born and raised in this city. Her family lives here also. So I have a lot of love and a lot of roots and a deep appreciation for the city of Richmond. And so what I want to talk about tonight and kind of just preface for a moment here is I understand full-heartedly that there's frustration represented in this room. You've heard some of the frustration already with regards to stolen cars and people that are causing quality of life issues, and it's kind of going unaddressed. I want you to know that it is not lost on the police department that those are issues. And I want to preface this by saying there is equal frustration with how certain things happen or are not happening and what our capacity is within the police department itself. I was sharing with a couple of people earlier, in my first 10 years on the force in Richmond, we lost 4 police officers to other agencies. And I'm not talking about retirements or people that leave because they get injured. I'm talking about working officers that have established relationships with communities and residents in this city that have been trained and invested in by this city. We've lost 4 that left and took that investment to go work in another city. In the second 7 years of my tenure here, we've lost 39. Let that sink in for a moment. 39 people who the city of Richmond has invested in, believed in, they've built relationships, they've been ingrained in this community, they've been trained on how to do community policing. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of this community's taxpayers' money invested into them to do a service, to provide a service to this community, which they did with their whole life. They took that and they said, I can't do it here anymore for whatever reason, and they went and took it someplace else. Now another community gets to take advantage of that free investment. And then we have to start over again to recruit, train, try to hope that they build the same relationships, which are irreplaceable, and start over. So that's kind of just my preamble to what I want to share. So let me start off by saying good evening, which I already did, members of the Hilltop Neighborhood Council, neighbors and community partners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. It's always an honor to stand before Richmond residents. I have great respect for you. People who care deeply about their neighborhood, they care deeply about public safety, they care deeply about the future of the city. That's who's represented in this room right now. One of my favorite definitions of the word community simply says a group of like-minded people. And I love that definition because in order for us to become community, all we have to try to do is figure out how to become like-minded and start pursuing the same thing in the same way. It has nothing to do with my race or your race. It has nothing to do with my gender or your gender or my nationality or your nationality or my sexual orientation or religion or anybody else's. It has everything to do with becoming, how do we become like-minded and we stop looking at each other from the opposite sides of the table with a problem in the middle and saying, hey, you're the cause, no, you're the cause, no, you're the cause, and we get nowhere. But when we get like-minded, we get on the same side of the table with the problem in front of us, and now you're my solution, you're not my cause. That's community. That's community at its finest. And we can solve anything when we get on the same side of the table and we solve the problem that's in front of us. And we are each other's solution, and we are not the cause. I'm here tonight to share with you the mission and purpose of the Richmond Police Department and to have a very candid conversation with you about the challenges that we are currently facing as we strive to fulfill the mission each and every day. The Richmond Police Department is committed to working in partnership with our diverse community to prevent crime in a professional, respectful, and collaborative manner. Our goal is simple, but it's powerful. We want every Richmond resident to feel safe, be at peace, whether they're living, working, shopping, or enjoying time with their families. That's why we exist. We want every Richmond resident to feel safe, be at peace, while they're working, shopping, enjoying time with their families, living. That this is a place you feel is home and you feel safe and at peace in home. This mission is not just a slogan. We talk about this all the time in the police department. It's not just a saying on a wall or a sign that you see on the side of a police car. This is what informs our discussions within our police department. It's what informs our decisions. It's what informs how we deploy with the resources we have or how we spend budget dollars out of our budget. That mission informs how we go about moving as an organization. It's a philosophy that guides everything that we do. And at the heart of this philosophy is community-based policing. A model that recognizes that public safety does not happen in a vacuum. It occurs when police officers, residents, neighborhood groups, businesses, other city departments, nonprofits, and elected officials collaborate with a shared purpose. It's another way of saying all those groups, we have to find a way to become like-minded and stop playing tug-of-war with each other. Stop pointing fingers at each other. Stop saying, well, you're the cause, no, you're the cause, no, you're the reason, no, you're the reason, and get on the same side of the table, and let's start moving forward with some unity to bring healing. You know, there are two words. So the church I attend, it's in Antioch. And there are two words that the pastor, every Sunday, he gets up and he says, there are two words that God gave me a long time ago for this church. Number one is hope, and number two is healing. And I think those two words apply to this police department, and those two words apply to this community. Hope and healing. I have hope that there can be healing in this community, and we can find a way to progress and move forward. Because the reason why I'm kind of setting the conversation up like this is because I'm about to go through several challenges that we're facing as a police department. And it's going to take hope and healing to get through them. It's going to take unity to get through them. It's going to take us collaborating on the same side of the table to get through them. Because for 6.5 years, we've looked at different organizations on the opposite side of the table. And we have not progressed. And the problems get worse and worse and worse. Challenge number one. We have critically low staffing levels. Lowest I've seen them since I've worked here. Right now, we are authorized 147 officers. That's about 50 officers fewer than what we were authorized in 2018, 2019. But the reality of this is even more concerning. We're authorized 147, but we currently have 24 vacancies out of the 147. We have 15 officers that are out on some form of long-term leave, which leaves us 108 available officers. That number includes everyone from the police chief on down to our newest officer that's still on training. Of those, we only have 44 officers that are available for patrol, when ideally we should have at least 60 on patrol. To adequately cover our beats and provide timely, consistent first responder service. That means we are operating well below our minimum staffing levels, and our officers are stretched thin, covering more ground, working longer shifts, and handling more calls than ever. One of the fun things that I get to do as a police chief is when we swear a new officer in, I get to take their friends and their family that are at the ceremony and kind of do a tour of the police department and the property, and I get to kind of show them everything. And at the very end, this just happened last month, I end in the parking lot, and we have this relatively beautiful brand new sleep trailer in our parking lot. It has 10 rooms, 5 on each side. And it's a trailer that we got maybe a year or so ago. And I tell them, and here's our sleep trailer. This is where your loved one will be able to sleep after a long shift. And then we have showers here at the police department that when they wake up, they can shower and they can go back to work. And I had a mom and I had a wife shoot their hand up faster than I could finish my sentence. And the wife said, I'm sorry, but I don't want my husband sleeping at the police department. Why do you have sleep trailers here? And I was kind of caught off guard. I was like, don't know what to say right now. And then the mother said, do they work firefighter schedules? Like 24-hour shifts, on and then off? And I said, no. And the wife ping-ponged back to her, and she said, well, why do they sleep there? I said, well, because they work 18-hour shifts. And that only leaves 6 hours until they have to come back for their next shift. And if they could sleep and spending a half an hour driving home, trying to get to bed, and then they have to drive half an hour back, and they're only going to get like 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep before they're back on duty again. And I'm here to tell you that's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's completely unacceptable. That cannot be our standard, normal, acceptable situation for our officers. Because when they come to work on day one, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, they're ready to take on the world. They work 18 hours, they're tired. They come on day two, they start off tired now. They're not bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, they're tired. They come on after day 3 of 18 hours, and if you think that their decision-making capability at the end of 18-hour day 3 is the same as their decision-making capability at hour number 1 on day 1, absolutely not. It's called the law of diminished return. If you diminish what goes inside, what is returned and comes out of you is also diminished. Their capacity to make clear, sound decisions, split-second decisions, rational decisions, diminishes as that process goes along. But guess what? I'm in management. Officer A, who worked 4 days, 18 hours a day, does something wrong. I hold him or her accountable. And the policies are set up for a 40-hour work week, not for a 80-hour work week, 75-hour work week. And they get held accountable when it's their body is breaking down, their mind is breaking down, their mental health is breaking down. And I continue to expect more and more and more. I have to find a way to turn this around. We have to find a way to move past this. Challenge number 2, retention of well-trained officers. And that was part of my preamble when I opened up. Retaining the people we have. Staffing isn't just about hiring. It's also about keeping the talented, experienced officers that we've already trained and invested in. Over the past 6 years, we've lost 39 officers to other jurisdictions, many to departments that now are better resourced, better staffed, and able to offer more support and a work-life balance. Every officer we lose takes with them years of institutional knowledge, community trust, and professional development, and every loss adds to the pressure of those who remain. I'm committing my professional life within the department of encouraging the officers that we have, trying to speak life into them. This will get better. This will turn around. I appreciate what you do. I see what you do. What you do does not go unnoticed. What you do is so that I can try to start adding to the spirit that's inside of them to keep going, to keep pressing, to keep pushing, while at the same time trying to work with the city, trying to work with the council, trying to work in other venues to change the narrative so that we can build back what we once had before. Under the Obama administration, we were hailed as the model community policing department in the country. President Obama invited our officers to the Oval Office in the White House, and we sat with the president while he listened and asked questions about what makes you so successful at engaging with the community, and we were able to tell them. And I'm telling you, that has been dismantled piece by piece. Challenge number 3, morale and narrative about policing. This brings me to another critical issue of morale. Our officers are doing more with less. They're taking on longer hours, navigating high-pressure situations, and in many cases doing so while facing public narratives that suggest that community-based policing is no longer valued or wanted. Let me be clear. Community-based policing is not dead and should never be allowed to die in this city. It is the only philosophy that I know of policing that works in a city like Richmond. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Richmond is a city that is rich in diversity, full of engaged citizens, and powered by partnerships. And when you have those 3 things, engaged citizens, empowered by partnerships, and diversity, it is prime and right for community-based policing to thrive. I reject the idea that we must choose between safety and community engagement, between enforcement and compassion. The truth is, we need both. We want to build a police department that partners, not polices from a distance. A department that collaborates, not dictates. A department that is present, engaged, and trusted in every neighborhood across Richmond, including right here in Hilltop. Here's what we need. The Richmond Police Department does not lack vision. We do not lack direction, and we certainly do not lack effort or commitment. What we currently lack is internal support, the resources, staffing, and stability that we need to build and sustain a strong organization. An organization that this city needs and one that this city deserves. That's why I'm here tonight. Not just to share our challenges, but to also ask for your support as community members. I ask that you advocate for rebuilding our department. I ask that you stand with us when we call for an investment into public safety, not just in response units, but in community outreach, in mental health collaboration, and in violence prevention. All these tools and resources that we had that made us that model community policing organization under President Obama, I want to get back to that. That you help us turn the narrative around from one of conflict and scarcity to one of unity and a shared purpose. Richmond's strength has always come from its people. I've noticed that over almost 20 years. The strength of this city has always come from the people that live in this city. With your help, we can rebuild the department that not only responds to calls for help, but one that prevents crime before it even happens, supports our youth, lifts up our neighborhoods, and helps restore trust where it's been lost. I want to work together, the police, the ROC, the Community Crisis Response Team, nonprofit organizations, city council, the community, side by side, to build a safer, like-minded Richmond that we all want to see. Thank you for your time, thank you for your partnership, and your continued commitment to this city that we all call home. I appreciate you listening to me and giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Assistant Chief. There's a couple of things that need to be addressed before we get to questions, and one of them is that we've had so many complaints about people being tired from calling in and there not being a response. So they stopped calling in. And maybe you could tell the audience here what the value of calling in can bring, because you know, if we don't call in, then it looks like there isn't a problem with crime.
Yeah.
And so they don't need more police officers if it doesn't look like crime is happening.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. It's a great point. So, straight to the answer, always call in. Do not grow weary in doing right. Do not grow weary in doing the thing that is needed to be done. Call in and report it. So there is a response hierarchy that gets assigned to calls for service so that we can prioritize which calls need to be addressed immediately, like what's an emergency. That would be what's called a priority 1 call. A priority 1 call means somebody's life is in the line like right now. And when a priority 1 call comes in, we drop what we're doing and we go. And normally that can take half to all of the officers that we have available in the street to respond to that 1 call. So in an instant, you can go from having 8 officers, 7, 8, 9 officers driving around, to having all of them on 1 call, depending upon what that call is. And then what starts to happen is other calls that are less priority, they go 2, 3, and 4. A priority 4 call is usually something that is mostly just about a report. There's not somebody's property at stake in that moment, like the car would not be a priority. Your car would not have been a priority 4. That would have been like, hey, it's in progress, it's happening now. Maybe a priority 2, somebody's life is not in line, but that car is taken off right now. And if we had the available resources available in that moment, we could start to respond to figure that out. That would be like a priority 2. A priority 3 would be, nobody goes alone to a priority 3 call. We always have to have somebody with, like a 2-officer response. So priority 3 could end up holding. If there's only 1 officer available, he can't, for safety reasons, go to that by himself. He needs to wait for a cover officer to be available. So that could cause that call to pend, because we don't have the extra officers. We used to have 12 officers on a patrol team. 9 beats, 12 officers. So just do the math. That gives you those extra officers to handle the calls as they come in, so that as priority is happening, you have extra bodies to handle and fill in the gaps. Now we're at minimum 9, and there are times where we drop to 7, 6. Unacceptable. And I'm telling you, I take responsibility for that. I'm not putting that on the community. I'm not putting that on the council. I'm not putting that on anybody. I'm putting that on me. That's unacceptable. We have to find a way to change that. I have to find a way to change that. But that is one reason why calls, like you feel like nobody's coming, something like, well, they came to the next day, because that call could have fell into like a category 4 response, and we could end up chasing priority 1 and priority 2 calls all night long that make that priority 4 pend until the next day, until a new shift logs on, and now we have bodies available that can go handle that call that had been pending.
And right now, Richmond Police Department is so short-handed, there's 9 officers.
That's our minimum, and sometimes we drop below.
Yeah, in total around Richmond that are patrolling Richmond, so that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, questions?
Thank you, Arnold. My name is Tom Gosney. I see a lot of fresh faces here. This is not my neighborhood. I live elsewhere. But out of respect for my very good friend Arlo here, I come and I do the video recording to post it online. I help out with the newsletter when I can. But for 55 years, I've been a part of the House of Labor. That's a fancy way of saying I'm a union kind of guy. We fought long and hard for the 8-hour workday, the 10-hour workday, or sometimes a 12-hour workday, but we never fought hard for a 16 or 18-hour workday. So that concerns me on there. But from a safety standpoint, I sure as hell don't want somebody has been working 18-hour shifts 3, 4, 5 days in a row, trying to figure out which one's the gun and which one's the taser again? That's a real risk for the person that might be the recipient of it, but it's also a risk for the entire city itself, especially with the negatives to it and the lawsuits. So, I mean, the solution to this, of course, is to be able to get more officers out in the field. From your standpoint, though, first off, what is it going to take to get these officers out there? And how long is it going to take with all the training and everything? But how realistic is it to expect that this is going to change in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's another great question. So, our emphasis as a management team is on trying to recruit lateral officers. We don't seem to have a problem right now trying to recruit the brand new officers, but from the time that we recruit a brand new officer to the time that they're actually working and able to be one of your beat officers, average 14 to 15 months. So we recruit them, they're hired, they have to go to the police academy, that's 6.5 months. They have to go through their field training, that's another 6.5 to 8 months. If they don't have to repeat anything, most nowadays, we're having to recycle trainees different phases, so like phase A, phase B, phase C, phase D, each one's a month long. People are having to redo like phase B. Like we can't move you on to phase C if you haven't learned everything you have to learn in phase B, because they're like building blocks. If your foundation is bad, the end product is going to be 10 times worse. And I will not sign off on any officer that does not understand that community policing is the way we're going to do business here. So there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that, so we're having to recycle, like, okay, did you finish B? We're going to have to do B again. So now you're looking at like 15, 16 months, by the time they're done, we finally get that officer in service. A lateral officer, that's somebody, like I told you, we lost 39 officers. They would be considered lateral officers when they go to another agency. All they have to do is learn what is kind of the new get down of this department, procedurally, how do things go, and then they learn their geography. And normally within 4 to 6 weeks, they're in service, providing community benefits. So we're hyper-focused right now on finding ways to target officers that we can get to attract to come to Richmond. And right now, what we really have to offer is the draw to people that want to do community-based policing. Because there are people that got into this profession, like I did, who really want to have like this integration with the community. There's a principle that goes way back to the founding of this profession that says the community is the police and the police is the community. In other words, we're all part of the same communal group that wants to move the community forward. There's some places where it's like we're the police and it's more like authoritarianism. What we want here is the community is the police and the police is the community. We want an integration. We want relationship. You should know who your beat officer is. They should, by name. Hey, Tim.
We've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
She's been waiting a while.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Sohail Albana. I'm your city council member. I live in the wildfire area in District 4. Just wanted to let you know, police is in charge of evacuation by a state law if there is a major disaster like wildfire. So it's not just a crime they're dealing with. There's a lot more they do. They also deal with human trafficking. They do all sorts of charity works, and I hope you can share with us, even though they're understaffed, they still continue to do that. So it's very important to not only support the police, but also their city employees. They deserve respect. And unfortunately, I see they're under attack, they're under direct and indirect insults, even at the city hall and city council meetings. I'm very sorry to see that, and they do need your support. So call in via Zoom, Common person, make a public comment for 2 minutes, even for 10 seconds. Just say you're supporting your police officers. Imagine, God forbid, there's a major earthquake. There may be looting. Who's going to keep order in this city? We do need our police officers, and we do need them able to work, not tired after 18 hours and hours of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Bev, hang on just a second.
Yes, my name is, excuse me, Beverly Hunt, and I've lived in this community for over 40 years. I'm sorry. And I can recall the time in the years that we had excellent police support in this area, in the city of Richmond. Now, I'm going to ask you, why do you feel that Richmond can attract officers, and why are so many leaving? Because if you don't have adequate support, you can't do your job, and the community loses.
Can I follow up with that? Yeah, when you're done.
And as far as respect for officers, I think, as far as I know, the vast majority of this community, as far as the people that come to the meetings and some of my neighbors, I don't recall having conversations where any person disrespect cops or officers. And as far as a beat officer, the last effective beat officer we had was Officer Roderick. It's been a lot of years ago. He was very unique. He was a permanent beat officer.
Arthur talks about him a lot, so yes.
Yeah. Nowadays, we come to a meeting and there's a different beat officer each time.
Right.
Roderick was always there. When he gave you his call and said, call me, he meant it. And he was always around in the community. We don't have that anymore. And the other thing, visibility, with police officers driving around through the communities like they used to, was a deterrent to a lot of crime. Speeding vehicles on my street was well drive. I've been trying to get speed bumps on my street for years, and I'm not done with that either yet. But officers would drive through, and you had the numbers then. So they were always visible. And then sometimes you could flag an officer down to have a conversation with him. We rarely see an officer in the community. I understand why, because you're short. So something is not the police department's fault that you guys can attract more officers, and officers that are here are going to greener pastures for some reason. Now, I have my suspicions, I have my ideas, but I'm not going to say it. And I think you know.
You want me to say it?
And when you were saying about an officer, you having a vision,
Yeah.
that's part of the problem with Richmond. Richmond has no vision. The city has a lot of potential, but we can't get great people. There are probably a lot of very great, competent people around this community throughout Richmond that will do a great job at City Hall, but they won't run. So there's a set of musical chairs, same people, same cast of character.
I will tell you my commitment to any city council that forms is that I think we need to be partners, not adversaries.
Yeah. And to be quite frank, I'm sure there's certain things that you would like to say that you cannot say because they have to be politically correct, as do neighborhood councils. We can't get too deep into politics, but I'll just say this, there are no political issues, like you said, and some with our city council people. So we really, next election, you really need to do your homework and vote in the right people, because obviously we did a bad job last time.
I will just say, I think the answer stands in unity, and that's what I've been saying from the beginning of this, like we have to find a way to be unified. Partnership and unity, that's what our secret sauce was back in when we had Obama inviting us, right? There was a lot of unity in amongst public safety, and I just want to get back to that.
Yeah, that's all I was gonna ask, is that you were around when that, I remember when that happened. I remember when we were revered as like one of the best, I couldn't believe it. I had never heard such a thing. I've been here since I was born and I've never heard such a thing, and so I was so surprised. But that's what I was gonna ask, is if you saw the blueprint, somebody had a blueprint. Somebody made it so, somehow we made it so, somebody needs to break down that blueprint again and then rebuild it back up.
That's what I'm trying to do.
And we have so many great community outreach programs and youth programs and nonprofits that reach here. And I think that what you're talking about 10 to 12 plus years ago was like a high time for all of those things happen to really come together, I think. And maybe it was just that the pot had just so perfectly simmered at that point that it became that way. But
We'll get back.
I remember that. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That was under Chief Magnus, by the way. Okay, District 4 candidate for City Council, Jamin Purcell, your question.
So my question is, you talk about unity and we talk about how to bring people together, and my question is, what can we, the average citizen, do to help try and change that narrative? Oftentimes when people talk about police, they broad brush and they talk about things from, like, not even in the state of California, but how do we really change the narrative so we're talking about not just any police, but Richmond police officers and how they're making a difference here, and what can we do to be able to try and help facilitate them? Is it like neighborhood watch, or is there some other way that we should be engaging? And then I have a second question, which is, you mentioned that the sleeping that officers do is in a bungalow or trailer. Can you speak about the why you have a bungalow or a trailer as opposed to an actual building?
Sure.
And what we could potentially do to try and help turn that, I guess, get you out of a temporary sounding situation?
Yeah, no, those are fantastic questions. And so I would say, number one, this community, the average person that lives here, should be demanding, whether it's to the city council, or whether it's in your neighborhood council, or whether it's in whatever venue you find yourself in, you should be demanding that you have a well-trained, well-staffed police department. And not because of what's happening in another jurisdiction or not happening in another jurisdiction, but based upon the needs you know your family has, the needs you know your neighborhood has, the needs you know that this city has. That demand should rise out of, like I said earlier, like what's always made Richmond special and unique has been the advocacy of what comes out of the people. Like the things that you see around this city have, many of which have been birthed out of people that have advocated in this community. So I would say you need to continue to advocate for what you want, what you believe in, and what you feel your family deserves, your neighborhood deserves, and the city deserves. And those voices need to be heard in every venue you find yourself in. And then in terms of the sleep trailer, so the police department does not own, the city does not, we are not in a city-owned building. We moved into a rental facility that's a warehouse 17 years ago? 2007, with a promise that the city was going to rebuild and bring the police department back at Civic Center, so that it could be centrally located and accessible, sort of central to the city, where everybody had a little bit easier access to the resource. You know, being down by the Marina District, we're as far away from you all as we can get. You know, I mean, quite frankly. And so we don't own the building. So we had to put a trailer in the parking lot because we don't own the land in order to build a permanent facility on. And that should be another one of the advocacy pieces that come out of this. If you believe the city should have its own police department and you want it back at Civic Center, those voices need to be heard. And I think you know where those voices should be heard, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah, before we let you go, I also wanted to add that sitting in the back here, we have Lieutenant Deschus, who is also going to be retiring
In
So-
March, right?
March 12th, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, you know exactly.
So that's another one we're gonna miss. And Bill Roderick was a legend for Bev and I know, and some of these us old timers know that Bill would come to each neighborhood council meeting. We all knew him. He was there when we needed him. So we miss those days, and we'd like to have somebody that we can call on that we know here in the future. So
And the last thing I will say before I guess I'm done is, there's a great deal, I hold very personal the accountability side of this profession. So there is not a position in the police department where we feel like cops are never wrong. Let me tell you something, they're wrong quite often. And there is a strong commitment to holding people accountable in this profession, in this city. We are not afraid to do that. And I kind of want to end with that because I know I kind of harped on staffing and all this stuff. I also want you to know that there's a solid foundation of accountability in this organization. And I believe that every officer, we are held to higher standards. And with that higher standard comes higher expectations. And we don't relent on that just because we're short-staffed.
one last one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, again, I'm Ryan Anderson, and I'm visiting you all from Laurel Park community. But I've been a resident of the city of Richmond for 65 years. Lived on the south side, participated in activities all over the city. I'm here to say I support the police department, that defunding the police department is a non-issue. We now know that crime happens not only on the south side of Richmond, but all over Richmond. And that accountability starts first from people who are ahead, who are elected leaders. When you see that they cannot control the crowds in a city council, then how do you think our city official police officers feel when they are overworked, when they can't recruit because recruits look at this city and say that leadership does not, some leaders don't support them, that even truck drivers after 60 hours, 70 hours a week are required to take 34 hours of break time, and they don't care. But they do risk the chance of maiming somebody or killing somebody or hurt somebody or making a wrong decision. If you care about your neighbors, not just here but everywhere, if you care about the importance of seeing great community policing, you've got to step up and speak up and show up at the city council meetings and say you do support it. Because what I feel, and I hear it here, is the community is polarized. That they are literally taking hits from leaders that sit on that city council instead of looking at how can we do better to bring the community together, to say that they're not the enemy, but it takes us together to make a difference. And it takes us to do that. So better leadership starts in June when you elect new officials. But better leadership requires each of us to see each other as leaders. We have to protect those who are here to protect and serve us. We now have crisis response for folks who have mental issues and mental health issues. That band needs to be pulling up to the police department to support those folks who are overworked, who are concerned about morale, who work in the workers' comp issues. In 2024, the minimum number was 6. It's now fortunately gone up to 9, but we've lost 39, 34 people who go to places who see that they have an equal footage and that they are concerned about those who work here first and put people back to work and respect those who are supposed to protect and serve us. So that's what we should do. And so I stand with you with those concerns, and I stand with the police department to make those differences.
Thank you, Hilltop Neighborhood Council. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How about a round of